June 4th, 2012. Totally, this will be the adjusted budget number for what is in the printed warrant. The amount is $50,994,412. And further, that the lines for department salaries and expenses shall be considered a single appropriation for each department, except for lines 72 through 89, 89 being education, and 72 through 89 being education, and 91 through 103, which represents water, Hillview, and parks and recreation enterprise funds. And further, the sum of $114,000 be transferred from free cash to fund pensions and benefits, line 29, in the amount for fire department salaries set at $2,301,427. That's an adjustment to line 33. And fire expenses set at $219,900. That's an adjustment to line 34.
If the motion, does the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation? Mr. Delaney.
Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend.
For the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee votes to recommend this article.
Further discussion? Mr. Valiakonis would like to make a presentation. 15-minute leave of the meeting. Mr. Valiakonis would like a 15-minute leave of the meeting for purposes of a budget presentation. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Mr. Valiakonis, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Valiakonis, the Town Administrator. Assisting me in the budget presentation this evening will be Elizabeth Pavey, our Finance Director. I want to apologize for the rocky start to town meeting. We had $600,000 in money that was to be voted at the special town meeting tonight that didn't take place to go toward our budget. So the fact that we didn't have a special town meeting, it created a bit of a crisis up front. We had to find $600,000 to balance the budget. And I'm happy to report we did it. So we're presenting to you a balanced budget this evening. Is it perfect? No, but does it address everything that we've got and what we intended to do? Yes. What I'd like to do is take you through a little bit of a presentation in terms of the budget process, and I'll move as quickly as I possibly can. Behind you, you see some of our budget goals, and one of the reasons why we're able to do what we did about 15 to 20 minutes ago is we have very conservative revenue assumptions. And if you look through the revenue report, which is in the front of your Finance Committee booklet, you'll note that things such as our estimated receipts are only scheduled to increase about 0.5%, or about $20,000 on a $4 million budget. So these are what our goals are. I'd like to go through them quickly. We want to maintain municipal services and jobs. We want to try to maintain jobs because they translate directly to services. And one of the things that we don't see very often is when jobs are eliminated, they don't come back. They don't come back very easily. So we want to try to do that because there's an emphasis on services in the community. We want to try to build our critical reserves to deal with the deterioration in the economy. One of the things that the town was incredibly successful with is we went through a bond rating review. And one of the items for our high school project we were complimented on was the fact that the town had substantial reserves. We want to try to maintain the savings that we had in health insurance, which we achieved last year. Health insurance is an incredibly large budget. Consider the fact that other than the school department, your next largest budget in this community is health insurance for $5 million. And health insurance, to a great extent, is below the water line, which is you come to town meeting and you're asked to vote a number and you really don't understand what's in it. And the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Department are the ones that really drive home the difficult decisions that need to be made with health insurance. And what we want to also continue to do is develop alternative revenue sources, continue our budget collaboration between town and school leaders. And one of the goals that we had this year was a bit unique, was to optimize our finances for the high school project. So I think we've greatly done all of those things. I'm going to turn it over to Liz for a second to take you through the revenue plan.
As you can see up on the screen, this is our current revenue plan for FY 2013. It also shows FY 2012 as well, just taking you through a few of the items. You know, you can see our tax levy increases every year, as well as our new growth. We're being optimistic about our new growth number. Right now, the debt exclusion number is only at 2.1 million. However, once we go forward with the school project, the debt exclusion will grow. That number will grow. You can see as well that state aid grew from FY12 to FY13, and that was due to you know, a last-minute increase in general government unrestricted aid, as well as Chapter 70 grew. So those are good things for us. And another highlight would be other financing sources, which are different transfers from different funds that we have townwide, whether it was free cash or the debt stabilization, cell tower revenue. Those are all detailed out on, I believe, the second page of the warrant. And then just down, lastly on the bottom, as Greg just explained, health insurance, we trued up the health insurance. So you may be wondering, why did our fixed cost total go down from FY12 to FY13? And mainly that's due to us, you know, getting an accurate number for health insurance. And so our total budget for fixed costs, general government, and the school department is $52,135,226. And we'll do a brief pie chart to show you the breakout of percentages of how the revenue is allocated to the school department, general government, and fixed costs. And this just shows the 33-67% split for general government and school department. So it is leaving out the fixed cost, but it shows what each side has a piece of the pie. Now I'll turn back over to Greg now.
Thank you, Liz. This slide depicts what we consider to be our budget risks for the next fiscal year. As a result of some of the collective bargaining settlements that we received, we settled 7 contracts in the last year on the municipal side. They're a phase out of certain benefits. What does that mean? That means that people need to take their benefits between now and June of 2014 or they lose them. So keep in mind that part of the budget is based upon the fact that employees are taking certain benefits going forward that will be phased out in a couple of years. Other risks that we have, and it's not a risk, it's actually pretty welcome, is we had a substantial turnover in some of our senior personnel. And that's great news, but with new personnel comes new ideas, and sometimes new ideas comes new costs. And you'll see that reflected in some of the budget items this evening, is we have programs in the police department with additional personnel, and in the fire department we're beginning phasing into the ALS program, which are reflective of the leaders in each of those 2 departments. And by the way, I think they're both excellent programs. As I said to you before, we're adding new personnel in the police department. We want to add some new programs in the fire department. Other risks that we have are energy. I think the same risks that everyone faces, but the town has considerable finances expended on energy costs, vehicle fuel, natural gas for heating our buildings, and electricity. We've tried to the greatest extent possible to pull these things out of the budget because they are so costly now. We feel it's important to depict actually what our costs are. So when you go through the budget, you're going to see a line item called fuel. I think it's $196,000. That represents the cost of vehicle fuel of all other municipal departments. Other risks, capital funding. Most of the capital program has been deferred until October. Why? Because that's when we'll have money available. We won't have our free cash certified until that time, and we'll look to fund as much of our capital program from out-of-pocket resources as possible. And then the other risk that we have deals with health insurance. And for this year, we budgeted a 5% increase in health insurance. That's based on our, based on our actual cost to date plus 5%. And I think Liz had mentioned, we trued up our plan enrollment, so the resulting increase is $52,000. $52,000 sounds like a lot of money, but consider the fact in past years we've seen increases of 10 to 12%, $500,000 or more. And as Liz went through the revenue plan, we fund our fixed costs first. So we're funding $500,000 for health insurance. Guess what? We haven't got $500,000 more to fund municipal and school services. And in this case, we've been able to, with the assistance of our employees, come up with an affordable plan. We continue our ongoing dialogue with our insurance, with our unions through the Insurance Advisory Committee, and we have a plan, affordable HMO plan that everyone agreed will go in place beginning on August 1st. So the health insurance, which has always been the 800-pound gorilla in the 7 years that I've been here, is less of a daunting problem this year for a lot of different reasons, but it's not the major cost center that we've seen in the past. And the fact that we're not paying $500,000 for health insurance is absolutely reflective of the fact that this was an easier budget year than it's been in the past.
This is a brief snapshot of our current cash reserves as they stand now. However, with the ones that are red with the asterisks are showing that we are using some of those reserves to balance the FY13 budget. So free cash, you can see that we have $515,000, and we are using almost all of that to for various things. Prior year bills, as you can see in the budget, that some of it is being used to balance the budget and for one-time items. The stabilization fund, we had hoped to put a little money in there, a small amount at the special town meeting, but we'll defer that to October town meeting. So currently $1.8 million is in that stabilization fund. And we have the capital stabilization fund, and we also use part of this to offset the debt service budget in FY13. We also have the water stabilization fund, that's set aside just for water enterprise functions. We may use some to do a study. So we have those funds available. Solid waste stabilization fund, we are using a small amount of that as well to offset the sanitation budget in FY13. Stickney well funds, town-owned land, we're going to transfer that amount into the capital stabilization fund at special town meeting, but that will have to wait until October. And same with cell tower fund. We used 200 of it to offset the FY13 budget, and the remaining 200 we were going to transfer to the capital stabilization fund. So we'll set that aside to do it October. So this is a snapshot of where we stand as a town with our reserves, and like Greg mentioned, we were complimented by Moody's for replenishing the reserves and maintaining them. So we're in a good position here.
I just want to point out the number on the bottom, cell tower fund 421,351. It wasn't that long ago that we had zero revenue coming in from cell tower revenue, and we've been able to build up. This is a savings account. This is money that we've been putting aside every year. We dedicate about $165,000 to $200,000 in cell tower revenue to the budget every year, but we don't allocate all of it, and this is the amount that's built up in savings. So one of the goals that we had was to increase our non-traditional sources of revenue, and that's one of them. So it's really helped us in this case to be able to have that, and we haven't had it for all that long. So I'd like to wrap up. What are the highlights associated with the municipal budget? The budget funds all of our contractual obligations with our 7 municipal labor unions. All of the contracts are settled. They've been settled with great effort by both labor and management, but we have settlements, and I think we're very proud of them. And they're cost-effective settlements that we can afford for this year and years going forward. The budget does utilize some of our reserves, including free cash, and money from the debt stabilization fund.